folks, Nicole Telkes here with the Wildflower School of Botanical Medicine. I am the director and founder and a practicing herbalist, and every Monday I have what's called Materia Medica Mondays, where I offer some different ways to connect and form relationship with the medicinal allies that are around you, and talk about some of their virtues. And today we're going to talk about plantain. Plantain is a very common weedy medicinal that is found all over the world, and in particular it is found in moist bottomlands, which is pretty much where I am, in a very wet bottomland. It likes to be somewhat near water. Many species at least like to be somewhere near water and a little moist. It's just popping up here. I'm in the Pacific Northwest right now, so it's popping up, and its little leaves are coming up out of the ground. And it's going to form an inflorescence of inconspicuous flowers in the middle, and I'll show you up close what this plant looks like. But let's just talk a little bit about it and how I use it. The plant is a weedy invasive plant, so that means easy to find, easy to cultivate, easy to get. It is not going to be something that you have to worry about hurting the plant necessarily. Except that if it is a native variety, I tend to be a little more careful when I approach the native species than the invasive weedy non-native species like the one we have here. So I like to use the leaves. The leaves are something that I have a lot of experience with. I will gather the leaves and powder them, and I'll turn the powder into a wound powder and put other things in. But plantain is an amazing powder to put on top of any kind of wounds. Why? Let's talk a little bit about its actions. So it's known to be an astringent and demulcent and antimicrobial. So what that means is that it binds tissue together and helps to dry out tissue and keep it less inflamed through its astringency. The demulcency helps to moisten the tissue. There's a beautiful little songbird right above me. So the demulcency it tends to moisten tissue a little bit. And so that seems contradictory a bit, but herbs are a little contradictory. So they have polypharmacy. There's lots of constituents. There's lots of different things going on. So they are able to do what seems to be the opposite. They can dry out tissue, and at the same time they can moisten tissue. That seems weird, but it can happen because there's so much going on. Just like us, we're contradictory. So the plant is, it's also antimicrobial. So that means it's going to kill different types of pathogens. In particular, I like to use this plant for fungal infections. I've found it to be quite useful and quite effective for candidiasis and other genital infections and inflammations that are related to pathogens. So I like to use it as a vinegar. I like to take the leaves and put it into a vinegar and then let it infuse, and then apply it as a watered down vinegar on the genitals if there's a fungal infection or any kind of inflammation. Very, very useful, and lots of effectiveness. I've used it with a lot of different folks. And I also like to use it as a tincture, and in the tincture form, you'll actually find that it's really good for any kind of itchy, kind of tickly throat. It's going to help with that, and I think Matthew Wood actually talks about that in his book, The Earthwise, Book of Herbal Wisdom. He talks a lot about plantain. And then I also enjoy it in one big way for all you Texans out there who are used to lots of fire ants. This is an amazing remedy for fire ant bites. whether it's a tincture form, whether you put it in an oil or a salve or any sort of form. I've used this in every form imaginable, and it's extremely effective against venomous bites, specifically fire ants. And if you don't know what a fire ant is, you're lucky. Wherever you're listening to this, that you're living is a special place. But in the deep south, we have fire ants all over the place, and so this is something that takes the sting out right away. But not just the sting of fire ants, it is good for other venomous bites. So you might want to try it if you get stung by something. You'll also find that it's useful for things like nettle stings or other types of plants that have caused some sort of inflammation or reaction. So this is a wound healer. Plantain heals wounds. It heals tissue. It's moistening and drying and antimicrobial. So it's going to help with both infections and inflammation and tissue. Think of that, healing tissue. So as far as the remedy in an oil, I've used the remedy in an oil by infusing the leaves in oil and then extracting off the oil and then using that also topically. So internally, I've also like to use this not only for any kind of inflammation in the respiratory tract, but also to heal tissue in the gut. So if somebody has ulcerations in the gut, then this is a nice remedy to put into a tea to help with ulcers or other digestive ulcerations. So consider that. Safe, gentle, effective, full of micronutrients. Tastes pretty good. Doesn't really have an offensive taste. Nobody's going to get angry at you for putting it in there. And there are some herbs that people could get offended by. So that's about all I'm going to talk about as far as the use of it. And then I'm going to take you a little bit closer and give you a view of it. So let's get up close with plantain. So here is the plant coming up out of the ground. And this is a whole stand, as you can see, as we pan out. And it's actually growing all over this area, amongst other things. But with that, I want to say have a great day. And I'm going to give you a view of my beautiful little area that I've been sitting in talking about plants, and then sign off. For more information, you can go to the Wildflower School of Botanical Medicine's homepage. It's wildflowerherbschool.com.